You're listening to AM 950 KTNF, the progressive voice of Minnesota. This is The Gailey Show. I am your host, JP Darabagosian. We are your answer to what is something queer that I can read, watch, or go to in the Twin Cities. And today we have two very special guests who run Flip the Script, which is a queer film festival. So we have Matthew Berg and Victoria. Victoria, would you like to go first and introduce yourself?
Sure. Thanks for having us. My name is Victoria Carpenter, and I am the co-founder and co-director of Flip the Script Fest.
Thank you, Victoria. And Matthew, would you like to introduce yourself?
Yeah, hello. I'm Matthew Berg, and I co-direct Flip the Script along with Victoria and also work as a programmer with her.
Okay. So, Victoria, would you like to get us started about what Flip the Script is for folks who haven't yet learned about it?
Sure. So Flip the Script is a queer film fest. We launched in 2020 after a year of planning and figuring ourselves out. We launched and then the pandemic happened. So it was a fun switch to figuring out all online right away. But that was great. We learned a lot of stuff and we stuck around. So yeah, this will be our fourth year of programming. And we've expanded from just an annual festival every October to monthly programming. We do partnerships with local organizations. So yeah, pretty much we're just trying to be the folks where if you want something queer on screen, we can point you in the right direction.
Excellent. And Matthew, tell us about the films that you all screen in the festival, and then how do you find those films?
So we program most of our films for the festival through Film Freeway, so that's submission-based. And part of the organization's mission has been about making sure that it's accessible financially. So we have really low submissions fees as well as are very generous with the waiver code. So we program those things in. For the festival itself, Victoria and the other co-founder, Mara, initially launched it wanting to flip the script on what kind of queer content was being seen and programming things that weren't based on tragedy or punishing our character for their sexuality, and trying to really show a diverse selections of the queer experience. So for the festival itself, that's a big focus of what we do there, looking for just diverse stories with queer characters that who they are isn't necessarily their journey to get over.
Right. And so do you get submissions from like mainly Minnesota, or is it from across the U.S.?
We get submissions from all over the world. So it's been really fantastic. We're getting queer stories all over the globe.
And so these are like short films and short docs and then features, or are there like specific types of films that you're looking for?
All of it. So we get shorts, we get music videos, documentaries.
Oh, wow.
We also get a smaller portion of features that come in through submissions. So to round that out, we also work with distributors. We look for things that are on the festival circuit that we can request that maybe don't have representation yet. But we do program features also that come in organically through submissions.
So when you say programming, do you, when you do the submission, like open it up in terms of for folks to submit to, do you put like a theme for each year that you're looking for, or do you just say, you know, here are things that we generally like to see?
We just leave it open. Our category is like, we want at least one person involved to be a part of the community. But sometimes, you know, queer filmmakers tell stories that aren't necessarily maybe seemingly a queer story. They might have an interest in race cars, and they cover someone that is a race car driver, and it's not necessarily like having to do with their gender identity or sexual identity, but it's something they're interested in, and we enjoy it, or, you know, we select it, it makes the cut, it fits with what we're doing. But we haven't yet put out a theme that we're looking for a certain year.
It does seem like themes pop up naturally, though, as we're, you know, through the years, obviously, like the entire community, let alone the queer community, deals with similar issues from year to year that change. So a lot of times when we're picking films, I mean, there are obviously too many. We don't have enough money to show everything. So one of the ways that we have to sift things out is by starting to find themes with things and create programs. So we have come up with fun themes following submissions for the festival, but just got to be gay. That's all we want.
So I actually.
I wanted to say to Victoria's point about budget, we also pay a screening fee to all our short filmmakers, which is pretty much unheard of across the festival industry. So we think every artist should be compensated for their work if we're going to be putting it out there, potentially making our own ticket sales off of it. So that's something we're really proud of as well.
Oh, I love that. I didn't know that. That's great that you do offer that. I feel like for filmmakers, or at least what I know from the industry on the outside, so which is not a lot of information, that sometimes folks are just expected to give away their content for free if they want other people to see it. So I love that you are providing that compensation to folks. Victoria, you were kind of anticipating one of my questions about themes emerging. So what all have you seen emerging in themes over the past 4 years of running the festival?
Well, yeah, that's such a great question. I think the first couple of years there was a lot of COVID topics, or obviously the issues, all the issues that come under that fun umbrella. A lot of kind of along with that, there's a lot of like post-apocalyptic stuff the first couple of years. And of course, as the gays do, kind of made it fabulous. There are just a lot of these, a little bit like, not utopian, there's weird stuff going on, but the gays are like starting delivery services and, partying and meeting up with their crushes still in the apocalypse. So that was a really fun theme to see. And then also just super generally, as always, I think that the queer community, documentaries are huge for us. Passing information along in that way is huge for us. Just, the honor of getting to pass along our stories is huge to us. So very generally, documentaries are always a big thing. And then, I think, too, from a lot of the younger folks, a lot of stuff just about identity and definitions and, trying to cross this this language barrier, I think, with like the older community and stuff, Some of the, one of my favorite films from a couple years ago was just this group of youth talking about, having issues with an elder in the community who's like trying to help them but not understanding and kind of, so just a lot of the struggle stuff.
I love that.
Yeah.
I have to leave it here right now for our on-air portion, but we are going to continue this conversation on our YouTube channel and everywhere that you get your podcast. And we will also include links to all the information about the festivals on our websites, both am950radio.com and thisqueerbook.com. Matthew and Victoria, thank you for joining us, but don't go anywhere. We're going to continue the conversation. Well, I am very excited for our next guest because this is an event that has been happening in Minneapolis. And if you haven't been to it yet, we're going to give you all of the reasons for why you should this June 4th. And my guest is Stacey Washburn from W Minneapolis. So Stacey, welcome to The Gaily Show.
Thank you so much, JP. I'm so excited to be here. Thank you.
Absolutely. So first, why don't you introduce yourself and then we'll get to the event.
Perfect. So my name is Stacey Washburn and I'm the marketing manager here at W Minneapolis, the Fauché. I've been here for almost a year.
Fantastic. And I got to see the inside of it for the first time when we got to meet, and it's absolutely delightful. So also for folks who haven't been to the W Minneapolis Fauché, not only is it a gorgeous place to stay, but they have some really lovely happy hour specials. And maybe we can talk about those later on in the
Yes.
episode. But what we're here to talk about is Queer Me Out. So tell our audience all about it.
Yes. So Queer Me Out is part of a global speaker series that's put on by W hotels all around the world. And for here at W Minneapolis, the Fauché, it's our second annual event on June 4th at 5:30 here at the hotel. We have 4 amazing panelists, a fabulous moderator, and we have a curated selection of queer-owned businesses that will be there as well. Artists, candle makers, tattoo shop. So it'll be a really fun night.
Absolutely. And so tell us what the theme is for this year.
Yep. So this year is called Take a Stance Pride Across Decades. And for this year in particular, we're celebrating the start of Twin Cities Pride here in Minneapolis in 1972, and then how it's evolved into what it is today.
And can you tell us a little bit about who the moderator is for the panel?
Yeah, so the moderator is Nina D'Angelo, who is one of the partners of Roxy's Cabaret right here in Minneapolis. So very, very excited to have her on. And then as far as the panelists, we have Devon Monroe, who is a professional wrestling champion. Devon Monroe actually was just in Treasure Island last weekend and just defended their title. So still a champion. And then we have Zaylor Stout, who is an activist and an author. And then we have Lisa Vicoli, who is the former curator of the Treader Collection. And then our final panelist is Becca Bailey, who is an activist in both the queer and disabled communities. So very excited to have her perspective on the panel.
An amazing lineup that you have there. I was very excited when you told it to me for the first time. And then the event that's around it, so the vendors who are going to be there. Tell us a little bit about why you wanted to have the vendors there and kind of expand it beyond just having a panel.
I thought that it would just be really nice to just go out and support these local businesses and give them the platform to, sell their products or just get their name out there to some people that might not have heard of them before. Like I mentioned, one of them is a candle maker. We have a fine artist. She's a painter. We have Black End Tattoos that will be there. We have an aura photographer coming. That should be really fun. I don't know if you've gotten your aura photographed, but it's a pretty unique experience. No. And then
like aura, like your aura?
Yes, like your aura.
For folks who aren't seeing the YouTube channel, like yours, I'm doing like hands around my head right now. But wait, how does it capture your aura?
It's a very, very special camera, and you have to put your hands on these sensors, and I don't know the science behind it, but it was really, really cool. It was a very cool experience. So we're bringing that in. I think that will be something kind of unique that not a lot of people have done before. And then I hadn't mentioned this yet, but the ticket proceeds from Queer Me Out are going to be benefiting Outfront Minnesota. So we're really excited about that too, to support them.
And speaking of ticket prices, how can people get their tickets?
So the event tickets are sold through Eventbrite. So you can search for Queer Me Out 2024 that way. And I do believe you might be having a link on your website as well.
Yes, we will have the links on our am950radio.com website, on the squarebook.com website. We will include it as well on the social media. And so what floor is it going to be on in the Fauché? Or I guess Minneapolis.
Yes, it will be up on the second floor. That's where all of our event spaces, and we will be taking over upstairs. Oh, and I also forgot to mention, so the event goes from 5:30 to about 8:30, depending on how long the panel discussion takes. And then after that, in our living room bar on the main lobby level, we'll have a DJ to keep the party going till late at night.
Absolutely. I met W Minneapolis, your folks at the Quorum. So thank you for being a member of Quorum here in the Twin Cities. And I just really loved hearing about y'all's commitment to the queer community. And then this event as well, because I had no idea, unfortunately, and which is why I love doing this show, is that I get to hear about all the events that various organizations will be doing during Pride Month and throughout the year. Pride is year round. But can you tell a little bit more about W Minneapolis's commitment to the LGBTQ community?
Yes, that is actually one of the things that really drew me to this brand in particular. I've worked for Marriott hotels on and off in different brands and for corporate for almost 9 years. And I've always loved the W brand because they don't shy away from, taking a stance when it comes to like marginalized communities. I think they do a very, very good job of making sure that the hotels pull through these types of activations to really support the LGBTQA plus community. We also have another speaker panel event later in the year called What She Said, and it's an all-woman panel. And then this year, I don't have the date or find details locked down quite yet, but this year will be an all Indigenous panel, and I'm really excited to celebrate that too, especially here in Minnesota where we have such a large population.
Well, we are going to continue this conversation on our YouTube channel and everywhere that you stream your podcast. For right now, Stacey, thank you for joining us here on The Gailey Show.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm so excited.
And I am very excited for our next guest. Joining me all the way from the Netherlands, Yael van der Wouden has a new novel that is coming out this the 28th of this month, May. So Yael, welcome to The Gailey Show.
I'm so happy to be here. Thank you for having me.
Absolutely. Our first international guest. So this is very special for
an
us.
Honor.
And congratulations on your novel, The Safekeep. I was doing a little research and there was a really excellent bidding war. So that must have felt very gratifying that you had so many publishers that were vying to publish this. So congratulations, first of all, on that.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
And then, well, tell us, what is The Safekeep about?
The Safekeep is about Isabel, our main character, who lives in 1960s Netherlands. And Isabel lives a very reclusive life in her old family home, where she doesn't do much. She only has a few things that she does, and that is go do the groceries, and she cleans the house, and she keeps everything in order. And she does this ad infinitum. That's her entire life. She doesn't have hobbies, no lovers, certainly no lovers, no friends. And then one day her brother shows up with his new girlfriend, Ava. And he tells Isabel that Ava must stay there for the summer because he's going off on a business trip, and that Isabel doesn't have much to say in the matter because the house is in fact on Louis, the brother's name. And so Ava stays for the summer, and Ava turns out to be the polar opposite of everything that Isabel is. She stays up late, she sleeps in late, she touches everything, she's loud, she laughs, she challenges Isabel in ways that Isabel does not want to be challenged. And Isabel develops a hate-fueled obsession. That's where it starts. Let's at least say that. It starts with a hate-fueled obsession. And then things start to disappear around the house. First it's a spoon, and then it's a knife, and then it's a bowl. And the question is, of course, are things actually disappearing? Is this all in Isabel's mind? Is she imagining it? Or is it maybe perhaps the maid? Or is it Ava herself who's stealing things? Or is it something else? Is it spirits, demons? Is it the house? Is her sanity, at play here? And that's the first two chapters. That's where we start. And then from there on, it goes on in many different directions that I'm not allowed to talk about yet.
Oh, all right. No spoilers. No spoilers. But this sounds absolutely fascinating. Tell us, so you are a professor of creative writing. How did you come to writing your debut novel?
I think it comes kind of with the territory that usually if you end up in teaching creative writing, you have been doing it yourself, either in secret or in public for a while. But I've always been writing. That is not correct. That's a lie. I've not always been writing. Actually, I wasn't much of a reader as a kid. It took me a while. I think, in comparison with, sometimes you hear kids that they're just like, they basically, when they're 3 years old, they start reading, and then they've never, they never had that, it's always been part of their lives, it feels like. And that wasn't the case for me. I was a television kid and an outside kid, and very much, my parents would give me books, and I would give them back like a week or two later with the announcement that was like, I'm sorry, the letters are too small. Or that would be my excuse, like, it's giving me a headache or something like that. So I really, it took me a long time to get into reading. The reason why I got into reading was we moved to the Netherlands when I was 11, and we moved into my grandparents' home. and my grandparents had very strict rules. I think in retrospect, not that strict, but for me, they felt very strict about when we were allowed to watch television, not during the day and certainly not on randomly during the week. And what we were allowed to do around the house, how much candy we were allowed to have, how often we were allowed to eat. And out of sheer and complete desperation and boredom, I picked up The Secret Garden. And and I started reading it, and that was the first novel that I read. And after that, it was basically the next step was teacher creative writing. No, that's where the ball started rolling. I think for as long as I've been reading, I've also tried to imitate whatever I was reading. Whatever age I was in, if when I was 11, before even Harry Potter came out, there were all these different books series about magical castles and magicians and witches, and so of course as a 13-year-old I wrote my own version of that. And then when I was 15, I was obsessed with Nick Hornby. Still am, by the way, if he's listening. And I have my own version of about a boy sort of floating around somewhere. So whenever I would read a novel, I would get this, not just like this immense sense of like, oh, I think I can do something, which for most of my life was disproportionately arrogant and completely untrue. But it was a great teaching tool, and I'm grateful for my own at times misguided enthusiasm when it came to imitating art, because it did teach me quite a lot.
Oh, I love that. That's such a great backstory of how you came to writing. And you also, I saw on your website, you have a lot of essays and short fiction that you have been publishing over the past few years, and also a Dear David column.
Oh, you read Dear David, or you saw Dear David?
I saw Dear David.
Can I tell you what Dear David is about?
Yes, absolutely.
Dear David, I have a very soft spot for Dear David. It's my advice column that I wrote for, I think, a few years on and off. But it's I pretend to be David Attenborough given life advice through animal facts, and it was so much fun. Because people actually wrote in, and I would have to go and hunt for an animal fact that seemed appropriate in answering someone's question around love or family matters. It was a fun project.
I love that. Well, I have to leave it there for right now, but we're going to continue this conversation on our YouTube channel and everywhere you get your podcast. The Safekeep is available everywhere you buy your books, available on May 28th. Yael, thank you for joining us, and stay tuned. We're going to keep this conversation going. Well, that is our show for today. Thanks everyone for listening and or watching. Our podcasts are executive produced by Jim Pounds. Creative and accounting support provided by Gordy Erickson. Production, distribution, and marketing support provided by Brett Johnson, Chad Larson, Laura Headland, and Jennifer Ogren from AM 950. You can find us on social media. Search for This Queer Book Saved My Life on Facebook. We're at This Queer Book on Instagram and at _Gailey Show. Follow us on Instagram for preview clips from upcoming episodes. For The Gailey Show, check out our YouTube channel, unless you're watching us there right now. We're also on AM 950's YouTube channel and Facebook page. As always, you can connect with us through our website, thisqueerbook.com. On our website, you can leave me a voice message of the current LGBTQ books, film, or TV you're loving right now. And if you send me a message, I will play it on the air to share with our community. Go to our homepage, thisqueerbook.com, scroll down, and you will see an orange box with a microphone. Click it and share your message of what queer media you're loving to watch or read. And if you have LGBTQ entertainment news with a Minnesota angle, email gayleyshow@thisqueerbook.com. That's GAILY show@thisqueerbook.com. And until our next episode, see you queers and allies in the bookstores.